All right, good afternoon. Excuse me. So here's the thing, right? When I first heard about this situation, when it came to Janet Jackson and Kamala Harris in her interview with The Guardian, and people are pretty upset that she's asking if Kamala Harris is a black woman. Now, initially I was going to get upset. It probably would have came off as hateful for people attacking Janet Jackson, the same woman that has been an American black woman for 58 years, who has pretty much done everything black besides for the people she dated for the most part. Or, excuse me, not dated, but married. She has entertained all of us for decades. I remember back in the 90s, the time I had the biggest crush on Janet Jackson, when she did the song I Get Lonely, and the music video struck my heart, and that song did too. So much so, every single time I heard that song or saw that video, my heart fluttered. Now, for us to attack a woman who is a black woman from Gary, right? Who has a black family, who never said or cringed when somebody really questioned her blackness, compared to Kamala Harris. Now, I don't care if Kamala is black, white, Indian. The only thing I really care about when it comes to Kamala is that she keeps flipping back and forth to when it comes to her being black or Indian. And then on top of that, how the press kind of plays it out too, because there are plenty of articles out there when she's saying she's the first Indian woman, and there's plenty of interviews when she was whenever she's questioned about being black, she kind of doesn't even speak on it, or kind of hesitates on it, or kind of makes a weird face, compared to she's very proud of her Indian heritage, as she should be. She should be very proud to be an Indian woman, just like she should be just as proud to be a black woman if that's the case. Now, here's the thing about this though. I think what it really is that I'm trying to think the best way to say this. She never had to identify with her black side, if you really think about it. And her dad left when she was 5, if I remember correctly. Or, excuse me, her mom and dad split when they were 5. She would still go visit her dad in Jamaica, if I remember reading the articles correctly. But even then, she still spent the majority of time with her mother and her family. And I'm not saying this for all, but a lot of Indian people, at least in the area that I live in, they don't seem to respect or care too much for black people at all. Now, again, I know it's not all of them, but the ones that work in the stores or you see in public, a lot of them just kind of look at you like you're kind of disgusting, like you're just, like there's something wrong with you. You're just sitting there existing next to them. And that's not always the case, but a lot of the time that's what it is. That's what it feels like. So whenever you have Kamala and you see her not willing to really identify out of her own words being a proud black woman, but yet everybody else is so quick to defend her, it doesn't make any sense to me, because now we're downing Janet Jackson, a woman who has been a black American her whole entire life. You gotta think about it. Kamala Harris, she lived in Canada in her most formative years. So whenever you're growing up and you mostly develop into the person you're going to be, it's going to be your middle, high school, and college years. So in middle and high school, she was in Canada. She came back and went to a historically black college. Great. She was an AKA. Great. She dated a few black men here or there. Great. Okay, fine. However, whenever you look at the things that happened to her, not happened to her, but things she did when she was in office, when it came to the black community, when it came to the truancy thing, when it comes to the incarceration thing, when it comes to all this stuff that you see that she doesn't have a really good excuse for or reasoning behind it, or she didn't even try to defend it or address it. When it comes to her being selected as the next president, because it's either going to be her or Trump. And right now, I think she's still in the lead, but as we've seen before, that doesn't always matter who's leading a popular area. They're going to choose who they're going to choose to be president. But when you see her there and she's running for president, we didn't pick her. She was chosen for us. It was like Joe Biden said, hey, I'm not going to be here. Kamala's going to take my place. Here it is. And the reason I have a problem with that personally, because I'm old enough to remember how well or how horrible she did whenever it came to debates, and how she got spanked by Joe Biden before, and Hillary and everybody else. She wasn't a good debater. She seems very indecisive, and she doesn't really show that much respect to black women. And that's the craziest part about it. Go look at that interview she recently did. I forgot who it was with. It was a panel, I want to say, of two people. I think it was two black women, one black man. And she was very short, and then she even stormed off stage when the black woman was asking her multiple questions. And I'm just sitting here thinking, looking, I'm just like, man, why is, well, it's not as many as people as before, but why are so many people defending her? And again, I don't care if she's black or white. I just want her to be brave enough to address the questions that people have. And she has not done that. Heck, even with her Oprah interview, there are clips. And the only reason I didn't put it in my video, because I wasn't sure if it was 100% real, because AI and everything else is getting too crazy. But even on her Oprah interview, there was a teleprompter that somebody got from behind view showing that she was on there reading from a teleprompter. There doesn't seem anything genuine about this woman. And then when it comes to her talking about the one claim to blackness that she has, or is associated with black people, it's like, yeah, she likes to cook greens and she cook them in a bathtub. And I'm just like, I've never seen anybody cook greens in a bathtub my whole entire life. I'm a country man from Florida. I have seen greens cooked outside in a sink, but never in a bathtub where you wash your ass. Never. I don't know anybody who's ever done that. But okay, that's fine there. Leave that alone. Let's table that too. So is it the thing that is people disassociated Jamaica with blackness? Because to me, unless I'm incorrect, Jamaica's a country. So if Jamaica's a country, that means that country can have multiple different ethnicities and nationalities there. You can have a white Jamaican, you can have a black Jamaican, you can have an Asian Jamaican. It's just not one color. Now, Jamaica may be predominantly black, but it's just like saying South Africa. If you're from South Africa, you're black. So that means, what's her name? Charlene Theron? She must be black. Elon Musk, he must be black because he's from South Africa. We gotta start associating a place with somebody's race. Just because you're from Jamaica don't mean you're black. But why does it matter if she's black though? Like, if she came out and said, I'm a proud Indian American woman, which she has done plenty of times, keep in mind. Even with that Mindy woman, when they were doing that cooking video. And speaking of Mindy woman, her own brother pretended to be black to get a scholarship that was taken away from another black person. You see, when I say this though, I'm just not talking out my butt. So no, I will never be mad at Janet Jackson for asking a question of hearing like, I thought she was, white and Indian. Now, granted, her father looks like the same skin complexion of my grandfather. And my grandfather is mixed, so I get it why he looks that white. So you have an Indian woman with a dad, and her dad is mixed from what I read. With I saw a picture of the grandmother. It was another light skin that had more features that are associated with black people. But when you see that picture of the dad and his mom, her grandmother, you're just like, oh, okay. She's very, as far as the blackness goes, is very little there. She wasn't raised around black people. She's not married to a black man. She wasn't exposed to black culture for the most part growing up her whole entire life. There isn't very much black. Well, this kind of reminds me of how back in the day in the 90s. And I was a little kid when this happened. When Bill Clinton came on to the Arsenio Hall show when he was the governor back then. He was running for president. And he went ahead and played the saxophone. And I swear to you, when Bill Clinton did that, that's what won him the election. If he didn't go Arsenio Hall and play that saxophone, he wouldn't be president. I 100% believe that with all my heart. Because that's when people started saying that Bill Clinton is really black. I remember hearing all the time when I was younger, after he went on Arsenio Hall and played the saxophone. Not R. Kelly, excuse me. Bill Clinton is really black. He's the blackest president we gotta have. Blah, 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 blah. That's what helped him garner the black support. That's what helped him gain the black support, was when he played that saxophone then. So now you have Kamala Harris essentially trying to do the same thing by using the little minuscule of black that she has in her association with the AKA to run for president. And that's the thing so wild to me, that people are slamming Janet Jackson, a black woman from a black neighborhood, from a black community, from a black family who is essentially black royalty, in my opinion. It's kind of like the Jacksons, the Waynes, like families like that stuck together, that came from the ghetto or nothing and built themselves up to become millionaires. Yeah, I don't want to say billionaires, a billionaire. Maybe Janet, because of her divorce, really. But even then, she was rich. They deserve to be protected. That's part of our legacy, right? To me, that's part of our legacy. We should be proud of that. So if she wants to question something like that, fine, let her question it. Everybody has heard that Kamala is white at one point in time. Everybody has. But to attack Janet Jackson, a woman who gives to the community, the woman that was in Poetic Justice, and again, my favorite song, I Get Lonely, that what made me have a crush on Janet Jackson. And she's still out there singing, still out here with her, building her family and her community, still out here donating, and still out here performing. And I'm just like, okay, so this stranger, Kamala is essentially a stranger out here in this world. This one would be like, hey, I'm black when it's convenient. She doesn't do any interviews about the issues that people have. And I think, I hate to say this, but a lot of times we have a habit of joining the bandwagon, right? We fall in love with a false promise or a false hope, and then we all just kind of like gravitate toward and throw our blind support behind it. We try to stay on code. But unfortunately, when it comes to Kamala, she hasn't shown where she deserves that. Now, this isn't a Kamala hate post, because nobody, no matter who wins, whether it's Kamala, whether it's Trump, it's all crap. Miss Black Barbie, Janet Jackson. Yeah, the Jackson 5. So here's what I'm gonna do. I went ahead and found that interview she did with The Guardian, Miss Janet Jackson. And well, I couldn't find the original interview. It sounded like it was a retelling of it, right? And on that retelling of it, you can hear the interviewer, I can't think of her name right now. She was very kind of nasty and ugly and disrespectful in her tone when she's telling this, recapping the story. I'm not going to say that's just the natural British European accent, because I heard them sound a lot differently and a lot more respectful and kind. But I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it was like an hour long. It took me a minute to find it too. Give me one moment.
This is The Guardian.
I'm just going to fast forward to the part to where they went over that. Cause it's just interesting. He said everybody's quoting Janet Jackson right now, but nobody can really find that interview.
She and her son have grown up surrounding a nation which addressed racism, poverty, and inequality. All issues just as urgent today as they were 35 years ago. She is a prolific social media user. and has used her profile to support Black Lives Matter to bring awareness to police brutality. Does she feel despondent about how slow change is in coming, or is she hopeful about the future? Well, there's all this child trafficking crap that's going on, and sex trafficking crap, you know what I mean? That wasn't so prevalent then. It's a strange about turn, not least because of the many allegations of child sexual abuse made against Michael. But it is also the most forceful she has been since we sat down. At least, we didn't know about it back then. I don't think we did we? Not really. I think it's really now out in the open because it's like $1 billion business and all that crap. I wonder what internet rabbit holes she's been going down, but before I can ask, she's moved on. On the Rhythm Nation album, for us, it was about making a difference in a kid's life, a teenager's life. From them taking this path with drugs and going down the wrong street to trying to make something of themselves. On that record, she sang about joining voices in protest to social injustice and pushing toward a world rid of color lines. I wonder where she stands on the forthcoming election. After all, I say, America could be on the verge of voting in its first black female president, Kamala Harris. Well, you know what they supposedly said? She asks me. She's not black, that's what I heard, that she's Indian. She looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. Well, she's both, I offer. Her father's white, that's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. She coughs. I was told that they discovered her father was white. I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother.
Again, Jamaican doesn't necessarily mean you're black. Jamaica's a country as far as I know. And that country could have plenty of other races and people there. So come on now, let's do better.
When she was 5. My mother understood very well that she was raising 2 black daughters. Harris wrote in her book, The Truths We Hold. The people who are most vocal in questioning the facts of Harris's identity tend to be hardcore QAnon-adjacent Trump-loving conspiracy theorists. I don't think Jackson falls into that camp, but I do wonder what the algorithms are serving her. I start again. Harris has dual heritage, I say, and given this moment, does Jackson think America is ready for her if we agree she's black? Or, okay, a woman of color? I don't know, Jackson stage whispers. Honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really, truthfully don't know. I think either way it goes is going to be mayhem. She doesn't think there will be a peaceful transition of power? I think there might be mayhem, she falters. Either way it goes. But we'll have to see. We have a few minutes left to wrap things up.
All right, so that's enough of that part right there. Now, here's the thing, and I'll play it again here in a minute. There's nothing wrong. Well, let me backtrack. Sorry. I think there's going to be a peaceful transition of power? Absolutely, especially if Kamala wins. If Kamala wins, and it's going to be pretty much the same people, I would think. Joe's going to leave office. Kamala's going to walk in, or just move into the bigger room, and that's going to be it. There's not going to be something that's going to be like a whole entire January 6th again. Now, if Trump wins, that's a whole different story. If Trump wins, I'm staying in my house that day. I ain't going nowhere because Joe, let's be real here, Trump supporters are something else. But for Janet just to be out there, just to be honest, just to ask, this you know, like, I don't know, this is what I heard. And then people trying to get her to apologize, or somebody apologizing for her behalf, and she coming back saying, no, I didn't apologize, and they fired a person. I respect that a lot. Stand 10 toes down on your beliefs. You could never get me to hate or say anything bad about Janet, Miss Jackson. I will never say anything bad about Miss Jackson. I just won't. I respect her. I respect her family because they're part of our community. They built themselves up. They're part of our culture. They are the culture in a sense. No, I will not say anything negative about Miss Jackson. And I respect the fact that she wanted to speak up and speak up for herself and not let other people control her or say anything else about her. Yeah, I think it is ridiculous for us to sit here and attack a homegrown American black woman compared to a woman who doesn't even fully identify with us unless it's convenient for her, who grew up in her most formative years in Canada. Again, in middle school and high school, Kamala was in Canada. Yes, when she came back, cool. She went to historical black college. We know who else went to historical black college? The woman who played Mary Jane from Spider-Man. Look it up. I'm being serious. Not Mary Jane. Excuse me. Aunt May. The woman who played Aunt May from Spider-Man went to a historically black college. There's all kinds of pictures over there too. That doesn't necessarily mean she's black. Right? I mean, we can't use that as a stepping stone. Like, oh, well, hey, she went to a historically black college and her dad is half Jamaican, and Jamaican does not necessarily mean black. Jamaican is just Jamaican. You could be a white Jamaican. You could be an Asian Jamaican because Jamaica is just a country. Like, how did we get to this point to where it's just Jamaica, you're black? What? Yes, the majority there is black. And yes, you can find old pictures of Kamala Harris with her dad and her family, and there's a lot of dark-skinned black people there. Actually, I did another video on it a while ago of Kamala and who was Kamala, and break it down kind of like her dad, pictures with her and her family, picture of her and her grandma. Not the one that looks kind of Photoshop, but the other one where she's like a little kid laying in the woman's lap. I also broke down part of an article where her dad discussed Kamala and not most proud of her for some of the stuff she said. I forgot what it was now. I made that video months ago. But the conversation and people being upset that she questioned if Kamala is black is ridiculous. And this little news reporter here from The Guardian, I don't like her. Let me go ahead and play it again so you can hear it.
And in the case of LaToya, said she suffered horrific sexual abuse befriending multiple young boys in the nation, which addressed racism. Know about it back then. I don't think we did we? Not really.
Okay,
I think it's really now out in the open because it's like $1 billion business and all that crap. I wonder what internet rabbit holes she's been going down, but before I can ask, she's moved on. On the Rhythm Nation album, for us, it was about making a difference in a kid's life, a teenager's life. From them taking this path with drugs and going down the wrong street to trying to make something of themselves. On that record, she sang about joining voices in protest to social injustice and pushing toward a world rid of color lines. I wonder where she stands on the forthcoming election. After all, I say, America could be on the verge of voting in its first black female president, Kamala Harris. Well, you know what they supposedly said? She asks me. She's not black, that's what I heard, that she's Indian. She looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. Well, she's both, I offer. Her father's white, that's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. She coughs. I was told that they discovered her father was white. I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother when she was 5. My mother understood very well that she was raising 2 black daughters. Harris wrote in her book, The Truths We Hold. The people who are most vocal in questioning the facts of Harris's identity tend to be hardcore QAnon-adjacent Trump-loving conspiracy theorists. I don't think Jackson falls into that camp, but I do wonder what the algorithms are serving her. I start again. Harris has dual heritage, I say. And given this moment, does Jackson think America is ready for her, if we agree she's black? Or, okay, a woman of color? I don't know. Jackson stage whispers. Honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really, truthfully don't know. I think either way it goes is going to be mayhem. She doesn't...
And that's it. There's nothing really bad about what she said. Maybe if Kamala was more clear about her background and her history, and instead of always talking about her mother and spoke more about her father, people wouldn't question if she's black or not. If she brought out some of her black family members, people wouldn't question her or not. But the only thing you hear about Kamala talk about when it comes to her background is her Indian mother, which again, her mother helped raise her. I understand that. When she goes on interviews or TV shows, this reminds me of some of the cooking I did growing up with my mother, yada, yada, yada. She never really talks about her black side. The only thing I heard about her talking about when it comes to the black side is freaking cooking greens in a bathtub. Got a little heated there. And that just sounded ridiculous. Again, like I said earlier, I'm a country man from Florida. I seen greens cooked outside. I seen greens cooked in the kitchen sink. Never in my life ever heard in a bathtub. Never have I ever. Come on now. That was the biggest slap of face I heard in my life. And if y'all watch it, thank you and subscribe. But this is just my frustration with this. How are we going to attack a woman, a black American grown woman from Gary, Indiana, who has brought the culture, helped raise the culture, helped elevate black people? Because you got to think about it. How many people have imitated Janet Jackson's style? The way she sings, dance, moves. How many charities has she donated and causes she tried to help? But she always gets messed with. I really do feel like the Jacksons are royalty. They're part of our culture. That's something that needs to be respected and protected. We shouldn't be out here downing her and dissing her for Kamala, who doesn't even claim us unless it's convenient for her. And truthfully, she really can't claim us. She can claim to be a black Jamaican, but she can't claim to be a black American. But Janet can. And that's why I have my frustrations with. Again, we're attacking a woman that our parents grew up with, watched on TV. Watched on TV on Good Times. Watched her music. Watched her acting. How many women were rocking the jumbo cornrows when Janet Jackson was on Poetic Justice? I actually love that hairstyle on her. I wish they'll bring it back in style. With that paperboy hat, or what was it? Yeah, it was paperboy hat. She just looked amazing and gorgeous in that. Help elevate our style. Janet Jackson is out here in music videos looking gorgeous and sexy, but not ratchet. Breaking a certain type of class. And if you actually listen to her videos or her music, yeah, she was talking about getting D down. She was talking about having XCS a lot. But how many people out there call Janet Jackson an HOE? You didn't hear it. You didn't hear it at all. So again, we really do gotta protect our people. If these other people want to come out here and talk about Janet, all right, go ahead and let them. But it ain't gonna be me. I am not gonna talk down on Miss Jackson. And when I say she has done stuff for our culture, if you think about it, whenever the Jacksons, this is Jacksons in general, whenever they come in popular, and well known in this late 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. What did you see about black people on TV and media all the time? You saw them out there on what's the old black exploitation movies? You saw that, right? You saw it was looking pretty slow. But then you had the Jacksons come out. And the whole entire family changed the game. What does that say? Miss Jackson should have asked her brother Michael that. Just saying. I don't know what you mean by that. I was just looking at this comment. I don't understand what they're trying to say, but that's fine. But why are we jumping on this Kamala bandwagon? I'm being dead serious. Why are we jumping on the bandwagon? And in case you haven't heard the interview, people making it sound like that she was people were saying that Miss Jackson was just over here, this acting clueless and being all nasty. You don't even hear the original interview. I went to the Guardian. I searched up and down the website. The only thing I could really find was this retelling of the woman who actually gave the original interview, which is kind of odd.
Social injustice and pushing toward a world rid of color lines. I wonder where she stands on the forthcoming election. After all, I say, America could be on the verge of voting in its first black female president, Kamala Harris. Well, you know what they supposedly said? She asks me. She's not black, that's what I heard. That she's Indian. She looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. Well, she's both, I offer. Her father's white, that's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. She coughs. I was told that they discovered her father was white. I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother when she was 5. My mother understood very well that she was raising 2 black daughters. Harris.
And how would that be well known? Because Kamala rarely talks about her father. We hear plenty about her mother, but we rarely hear about her father.
Wrote in her book, The Truths We Hold. The people who are most vocal in questioning the facts of Harris's identity tend to be hardcore QAnon-adjacent Trump-loving conspiracy theorists. I don't think Jackson falls into that camp, but I do wonder what the algorithms are serving her. I start again. Harris has dual heritage, I say. And given this moment, does Jackson think America is ready for her if we agree she's black? Or, okay, a woman of color? I don't know. Jackson stage whispers.
Now, with that same logic, I don't know. Do you remember whenever Barack became a front runner and a real possibility of winning the election? Do you remember of how many people got upset whenever he actually won? I'll tell you a short story. I remember when I was younger, I was just minding my own business at Walgreens. Obama just won the election. President Obama just won the election. I was getting ready to stand there and check out. I kid you not, this drunk white man walks into the store, looks at me, scoffs. He said, "I bet you're proud that Obama is gonna be winning." I'm sure I had to stop myself from saying the N-word. Anyways, won the election. I just looked at the man and just ignored him and kept going about my business. The cashier was looking very uncomfortable because she thought the interaction was going to happen that she had to call the police for him. It didn't. When the guy saw that I wasn't going to engage with him, he eventually just walked away and probably got some more beer. I don't know. I checked out a story about time that happened. But people were more upset. I won't see people were more upset. You saw people visibly upset, especially I being in the South, visibly upset whenever Obama won, whenever President Obama won. I was there for that. I remember that firsthand. So now you have people that are questioning, how is Kamala going to lead? Because she really didn't earn it, they're thinking. She couldn't win in the presidential debates. She got selected to be the VP. And she's given the presidency right now because she was selected to be the VP. So it's kind of like of a situation, right place, right time, doesn't necessarily mean you're the most qualified. Right? So I can understand Janet saying, I don't know. Because if you're old enough to remember whenever President Obama first became elected, people who were like this, they were in shambles.
Honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really, truthfully don't know. I think either way it goes is going to be mayhem. She doesn't think there will be a peaceful transition of power? I think.
Now that part kind of confused me when she asked that about a peaceful transition of power. Again, it's not like January 6th, whenever you had Trump refusing to leave office and the whole entire storming of the White House happened. This is just, she's already in the White House. She's moving to a larger chair and room. So her asking that question seems like a bait. It just seems kind of slimy to me. That whole interview seems slimy. Go and watch that or listen to that whole entire podcast. It's not very favorable at all.
There might be mayhem. She falters. Either way it goes. But we'll have to see. We have a few minutes left to wrap things up, so I throw some quick-fire questions at her while we recalibrate. When I ask what her biggest disappointment is, Jackson flashes back, every one of my marriages, without missing a beat. Later, she corrects herself to just the last one. In its first black.
Okay, yeah, I just went ahead and stopped it right there again. But I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. I'm about to get off here soon. I need to start cooking dinner, but it's just very confusing to me. And I don't understand why The Guardian, which is a European paper, cares so much about our politics, in a sense. Because it's like me caring about the king or queen of England. I don't care. We fought a war to get away from them, so I don't care what they do. I don't care who their monarchs are, who's ruling what they're doing to the people over there, because I'm an American. I care about right here. So to try to get some little viral moment of Janet Jackson, who to me, again, is Black American royalty, they earned that shit from the bottom up. I mean, come on, y'all. Let's be real here. The Jacksons earned that title of a Black American royalty. No family is perfect, but they're homegrown in America. Kamala is not. Jamaica does not make you black. Jamaica is a country. You could be a white Jamaican. You could be an Asian Jamaican. You're just Jamaican, so what? Her dad is mixed. Okay, great. I don't care if she identifies as Indian or Jamaican black or what. I just want her to address the issues with people who will actually challenge her with real questions. I don't want her to have her VP picked by her side, helping her as an emotional support person whenever she does her interview. I'm tired of her talking in circles. And again, you will never hear me slander Janet Jackson. I will never slander Miss Jackson because Miss Jackson deserves our respect. I love it, and you know what? This is taking back. What was it back in the early 2000s? Whenever she did a Super Bowl with Justin Timberlake, and that wardrobe malfunction happened, and then everybody wanted to blacklist her and blame her, even though that coked out Justin Timberlake messed up the performance. But he didn't get the blame though, right? It wasn't until years later they see how much of a train wreck that boy is. Or excuse me, that man is. But here you go right now. Same thing happening again. Guy that's trying to jump on Janet. It doesn't make any sense. All right, so if you watched, please subscribe. I appreciate it. Thanks for the little interaction I got. I appreciate that. Some of the questions y'all wrote that I really didn't understand in the chat, but that's cool. I just appreciate the interaction. I appreciate you watching. Subscribe, and thank you again.